you for the invitation and for the great opportunity to address a few words about the importance of girl education for our societies and the impact of COVID-19. We cannot imagine our world without our mother, our sister, or our friend. And we cannot imagine this world without Marie Curie, 2 times Nobel laureate, with enormous contribution to chemistry and medicine, without Rosalind Franklin, who contributed to the discovery of the structure of DNA, or Grace Hopper, a pioneering computer programmer and one of the first women who achieved a PhD in mathematics. And we cannot imagine this world without Dorothy Hodgkin, the woman scientist who discovered the structure of insulin, or without Özlem Türeci, the woman scientist who gave us hope to come back to normality by the anti-COVID vaccine. We all need women, and we need educated women in our lives. Investing in girls' education creates the future, transforms families, communities, countries, shapes the entire world into a better and prosperous place. Because girls, women, are real agents of change, as my previous speakers also said. But girls' education goes beyond the simple fact of going to school. It means proper conditions of living, assuring a safe and meaningful space for learning, promoting, creating, and maintaining equal opportunities to inclusive quality education for girls as for boys, so that all the girls have the chance to complete their education and to fulfill their dreams and their potentials into the society. Educating a girl means maybe now more than ever, and we see what happens worldwide, giving her the knowledge, the skills, and the strength to decide for herself and for her future, giving her the power to say no or yes whenever she considers so, giving her the power so that she could plenary contribute to our world. But how does our world look for her today? According to UNESCO, around 130 million girls are out of school from primary to upper secondary school. And has been said before, in countries affected by poverty and conflict, girls are more than twice affected by these conditions. We can ask ourselves, what keeps a girl out of school? You might consider it being a very easy answer, but the complexity of the cultural and socio-economic dynamic of our worlds can only give complex answers and complex solutions. Living in poverty with not enough food for a proper growth, lacking sanitary conditions, poor or extreme living conditions strongly affects a girl's chance for a better future. Nowadays, across the world, about 1 billion children are multidimensionally poor, without access to education, housing, health, proper nutrition, or water. Even though our governments, have made efforts into stopping the circle of poverty, yet girls and boys are dying of hunger, or they go hungry to school. Poor households with many children may often choose to invest in boys' education, depriving girls from this chance. Many international studies show that girls living in disadvantaged situations are far behind in terms of access to school and completion of education. According to UNESCO, 15 million primary school-aged girls will likely never enter a classroom in their lifetime. So we can answer, what is their chance for a better future? For some girls, school is the main safe place to be, because domestic violence is a constant in their lives, hurting not only their fragile bodies, but also their souls. For others, going long distance to school might place them at an increased risk for gender-based violence. We should not forget sexual exploitation and abuse, sexual harassment, or diverse experiences of violence while at school. Adolescent pregnancies come with unimaginable struggles for these girls who suddenly become mothers, come with social stigma and discrimination at school and in society. How can these very young, uneducated mothers offer a good life for their children? In some families and some cultures, girls are stopped from attending school. It doesn't matter if they want to learn, to grow through knowledge. For many adolescent girls, the only options they have is to marry or to work for the household, but never to go to school. which might be either too expensive for the family, either is considered as being the option only for the boys in the family. Beside the moral and ethical ground, child marriage has a huge impact on the education, health, or economic conditions of the young mother and their children. And my colleagues have already mentioned this. Giving a real chance to girls for education and personal fulfillment means breaking the circle of poverty around them, giving them equal chances to good teachers and technology, and fighting against gender discrimination in our societies. I have just emphasized few of the main barriers that hundreds of millions of girls around the world must cross from their early childhood to the adulthood. But over all these difficulties or suffering in the last 2 years, the pandemic crisis has widened the inequalities and the needs of millions of girls. Where there was poverty, they become poorest. Where there was lack of education, the school closed the door for the enlightenment. Where there was violence, they become more violent. Too many times, we talk maybe about challenges related to this sanitary crisis, and maybe very few times about struggles, fights, or anxieties. But the pandemic crisis determines also an unprecedented disruption of education worldwide. We already talked about this. The measure taken by the National Authority in Education school closures had, as study says, the most significant impact in girls' education with mid and long-term impact. A prediction made by UNESCO this year says that 11 million girls worldwide might not return to school. The gains in girls' education in the latest years might be strongly affected by the crisis we are facing. We might have already made significant steps back for some of us with some years back. Meanwhile, the technology advances with high speed, and this fourth digital revolution that we cross comes with so many challenges in our lives, in the way we live, we work, we do business, we communicate, and we interconnect worldwide. The 21st century economy, which is profoundly digitalized, needs individuals with high skills and advanced technology literacy. We already discussed about jobs that will disappear, some that will be transformed, and others that will be totally new for what we know these days. The specialists often talk about the competencies and skills of tomorrow, such as analytical thinking and innovation, complex problem solving, leadership, or resilience. In this context, the cleavage is even more obvious. Almost 2/3 of all adults who are unable to read are women. How can they learn if they can't read? How could ever be digital literate if they can't read? In this era, so equitable access to technology is essential for girls and women. If the pandemic struck and impacted even more girls' education, the educational systems are required to take immediate measures for quality education for every child, girl or boy, in an equitable manner. Building a culture of inclusiveness and value for diversity, bridging the gaps, investing in good and dedicated teachers, understanding that this era of digital everything everywhere requires not only knowledge and information, but also socio-economical, emotional skills, building and strengthening the community circle around the school and the university are some of the actions that we owe to our children. I was born in Romania, in a middle-class country family, and I could consider myself lucky for having parents who could support me going to school and following my dreams. But I live in a country in which almost half of our children still live in poverty, and this strongly affects their participation to school and their academic progress. Some of them never left their village. Unfortunately, many girls or women are victims of human trafficking, Romania remaining predominantly a country of origin for the victims of trafficking in human beings. I had the chance to follow my dreams, as I said before, and I am now part of the community of the University of Bucharest, which is an academic organization who understands all these challenges and needs and makes efforts in building an inclusive and open environment for all our students, teachers, and non-academic staff. It's not enough, but there are steps into this. I bring into attention only 2 of the strategic projects that we are developing: SEED, support for the disadvantaged children dedicated to break the walls for the youngest and to enlarge their horizons through education. We are providing academic support, mentors, and financial support starting from the secondary school to upper secondary, trying to increase their chances for a better future. And nonetheless, in particular related to women empowerment and gender balance in academia, we are co-creating, together with our stakeholders, a strategic gender balance action plan meant to put on our institutional agenda equity and gender balance at all levels. When it comes to women and gender discrimination in our society, especially at work, we often use the metaphor of the glass ceiling. But in some manner, this metaphor is more wrong than right, and I would extend the field of discussion. The glass ceiling assumption designs a scenario in which men and women have equal access to leadership position. But this is wrong. Women are not, do not have the same chances. Many women disappear silently at so many points in their journey. Therefore, their becoming is more like a labyrinth with so many obstacles, which requires their determination, persistence, and resilience. Because the second generation gender bias that coexists in our organization, in our communities, in our societies, is more subtle and effective in gender discrimination. Girls and women do not lack ambition, neither the know-how, the dedication, or the courage to fulfill themselves and to bring their intellectual, moral, and material contribution to a prosperous and peaceful world. What girls and women need is a just society. Thank you.